The firings will continue, my friends. We got this crazy viral video where an employee or a guy claiming to be an employee of HHS who got fired is following around a GOP rep and then asks him, are you going to do anything about this? And the guy says, no, you deserved it. And the guy's like, what? Losing his mind. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past few minutes, it has been reported that Trump has begun to terminate more federal employees. I'm sorry. Look, man, let me just start by saying, I want to play this video for you. I'll play it in 5 seconds. I feel for the people who lose their jobs, but you are not guaranteed public funds. When you get fired from your job, you get fired from your job. You move on. But let me play this video and show you what people look like when they think they're entitled to your money.
Hi, I was a worker at HHS. I was fired illegally on February 14th. There are many people who are not getting social service programs, especially people with disabilities. Are you going to do anything to stop what's happening?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it?
You probably deserved it.
I deserved it.
Dude, that's
wow.
So sad.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Why did I deserve it?
Because you seem like a clown.
Okay, sir, you shouldn't have said that.
Hi, I was a worker.
You shouldn't have said that. Why not? Look. Wrongfully fired. Okay. You are not entitled to our money. This is what I can't stand about these government employees. In the private sector, you have no guarantee your business will persist. So you can be fired anytime for any reason. Now, I get it. We have some workers' protections, but these people think that because they can work for the behemoth of the machine state itself and they're immune to the market, they deserve and entitled to they are deserved and entitled to your money. If we elect someone, Donald Trump, and he says explicitly, I am going to be firing people. And then you get fired and you go, it was wrongful. I'm entitled to this. I say, get out of here. Look, there's certain circumstances where people can be wrongfully terminated, right? If you have an employment contract that guarantees you a certain amount of time, usually, though, it gives the person paying you a lot of leeway. It's called leverage. So these people go to companies and the company says, we're going to put you on a 3-year contract. We can exit any time you can't. That means we can fire you, usually. In the private sector, if somebody makes, someone's a YouTuber, and then all of a sudden their videos aren't getting viewed anymore, and they got to lay people off. Or let's say they built up a big network, and then they start losing talent, and people are quitting or something. These people get laid off, and they go, well, lost my job. But the people who work for government believe they're entitled to public funds. And the government can take by force at gunpoint your money or just print it. And these people are wrongfully terminated when we elect to fire these people. Here's a story from the AP. Layoffs begin at U.S. health agencies responsible for research, tracking disease, and regulating food. Employees across the massive U.S. Health and Human Services Department began receiving notices of dismissal Tuesday in an overhaul ultimately expected to lay off up to 10,000 people. The cuts include researchers, scientists, doctors, support staff, senior leaders, leaving the federal government without many of the key experts who have long guided U.S. decisions on medical research, drug approvals, and other issues. At the NIH, the world's leading health and medical agency, the layoffs occurred as its new director, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, began his, Bhattacharya began his first day of work. Quote, the revolution begins today, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy wrote on social media as he celebrated the swearing in of his latest hires. Bhattacharya and Martin Makary, the new FDA administration commissioner. Kennedy's post came just hours after employees began receiving emailed layoff notices. Kennedy announced a plan last week to remake the department, which, through its agencies, is responsible for tracking health trends, disease outbreaks, conducting and funding medical research, and monitoring the safety of food and medicine, as well as for administering health insurance programs for nearly half the country. The plan would consolidate agencies that oversee billions of dollars for addiction services and community health centers under a new office called the Administration for a Healthy America. The layoffs are expected to shrink HHS to 62,000 positions, lopping off nearly a quarter of its staff, 10,000 jobs through layoffs, and another 10,000 workers who took early retirement and voluntary separation offers. Many of the jobs are based in the Washington area, but also in Atlanta, where the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is based, and in the smaller offices throughout the country. 2 lines with hundreds of employees wrapped around the HHS headquarters building Tuesday morning, yikes, Workers waited in the chilly spring weather to be individually scanned in for access to the building. Some said they were waiting to find out if they still had jobs. Others gathered at local coffee shops and lunch spots after being turned away, finding out they had been eliminated after decades of service. Listen, look at this. One wondered if it was a cruel April Fool's joke. I empathize if you've lost your job. Everybody needs jobs, right? And you dedicated your time and energy, and it sucks. I mean that. I sincerely do. I will add, don't follow around a GOP member yelling, I lost my job illegally. Are you going to do anything about it? I think maybe what you should do is, first of all, the feds, you guys were offered a severance package to September. And why didn't these people take it? You knew it was coming. They said, we're going to pay you through September. Take the deal. And they said, no. Democrats threatened to cut their funding if they took the deal. You are not entitled to money. Thank you. Bye. I had this conversation. So we got asked the other day about the Daily Wire. And people said, I'm hearing there's layoffs. Indeed, there's layoffs. What's going on with the Daily Wire and its layoffs? I said, listen, the Daily Wire's not broke. Y'all. First of all, there was rumors they were shutting off credit cards. And I'm like, well, if they're firing people, they'll shut their credit cards off, sure. But the rumor was that it was a company-wide credit card freeze, which is stupid. Because when you are broke and you are in bankruptcy, that means you don't have any money. So how do you spend money? Lines of credit. You see how that works? So they wouldn't do that. That makes no sense. My point is this. A lot of these people lost their jobs. That's it. And most of the people who do our posting about it, they're like, well, but people are acting like this is the apocalypse for the Daily Wire. Let me explain. If I have a company and I make $100,000 a month selling, sweaters, and I only need to, my margins, let's say my margins are 90%. For whatever reason, I got really high margins on my sweaters. So for $10,000 in costs, I'm clearing $90K profit every month. Let's say I decide I'm going to pay myself $10K. Materials cost, personnel cost, that gives me a profit of $80K per month. Okay, what do? I'm going to hire a handful of people to make more sweaters. So a year goes by, the people who are making those sweaters aren't selling enough and the costs are getting too much. So I say, I'm laying off my entire team. And then people go, whoa, are they going out of business? No, I'm still making $1 million, 1.2 a year. I'm just firing the people because the investment wasn't working. The money is still there. I bring this up because you can lay people off even when the business is doing well. And some might argue, why am I losing my job if the company has the money to pay me? Because they've decided to go a different direction with their money. You are not entitled to this. But the reason I bring this up is because in the private sector, I've had to explain to various contractors, people that I've done work with over my 10 plus years, when they say, I've had someone come to me and say, we will produce this thing for you and we want to charge X. And I said, okay, I appreciate it. We can't afford that. And they were like, well, but that's how much it costs. And I was like, yeah, we can't afford it. Thank you for your time. And they're like, no. What do you mean? Like you should pay us that money. I'm like, bro, the money does not exist to pay you what you are saying you want. And they're, like, it's really crazy that there are liberals who think that money simply exists in a bank account and you can just give it out forever. I've had people say, contractors say, if you want to continue with this contract, you got to pay us more money. And my response is, okay, so what you're saying is you want me to give you my money. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, let's break this down. You're getting paid X. You say I should pay you X plus 20%. And they go, yes. And I say, okay, where does that 20% come from? And they're like, the company, I guess. And I'm like, the company. Who generates the revenue of the company? What generates the revenue? I do. So you're saying I should take 20% of my money and give it to you. Okay. I'm not insulting you. I'm saying, like, understand what that means. You need to be performing a job that covers your costs at least. Otherwise, you're out. Now, the reason I bring that up, sometimes businesses pay people even when they're losing money because we believe in the work you're doing and we hope we can get to a point where it's sustainable. Sometimes we just like the project. Say, you know what? This might be a net loss, but we think there's some value in it for some reason. We want to keep it going. I bring this up, not to be a dick or anything like that, so I apologize, but to point out in government, Money is seemingly infinite. And these people are flabbergasted that they're going to lose their jobs. Why? Because the government can just steal the money from anybody they want. See, that's the point, the entitlement. At the government, they say, but the money's infinite. It's not. You're stealing the buying power of other Americans to do a job we don't want you to get paid for. And so they're yelling about it. I say, no dice. No dice. But you know what, man? They'll cry, they'll scream, and the judges are going to issue these nationwide injunctions shutting the whole thing down. Ludicrous, I say, ludicrous. Sorry, guys, you lost your jobs. I do feel for you that you lost your jobs. I do, but you're not entitled to our money. I'll wrap it up there. Stay tuned. Timcast IRL will be coming up. I think we got one more segment for you. Thanks for hanging out. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and we'll see you all then.